Hello, hello. I'm Casey.
And I'm Fallon.
And this is
Render the Darkness. Okay, I did it right. Last time I was like, I don't remember. Anyway.
Also, we gotta do it again because this is the part 2 of the ghosties. So, we're gonna be doing that a lot in this episode.
Ghosties.
If it scares just one of you, we have succeeded.
Raw.
Success. Okay, so your fact for this episode is, hopefully this is an accurate fact, Africa is the only continent in all 4 hemispheres.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think, I was like, no, like there's other continents in the other hemispheres, but you meant like it's like the whole thing is in.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I should really start fact checking my facts. As we've recently learned, you can hum and hold your nose.
Yes, you can. Okay, so today we are going to be doing the Ghost of Arkansas Part 2.
Ooh, Part 2.
Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is the Arlington Hotel.
Been there.
I know you were telling me about that.
I know, it was pretty intense actually.
I'd like to go there one day. I want to go to all these at some point in time. I think they're pretty cool.
I will look for any excuse to go to Hot Springs there is, so I am 1000% on board to go to the Arlington Hotel every time.
Awesome. Alright, so the hotel was built during the city's golden era, before Las Vegas and Florida became a tourist destination. It was one of the most recognizable places in the city of Hot Springs and has been frequented by the wealthy and some pretty famous people throughout its history. After the Civil War, people began to return to Hot Springs and the city became a tourist destination once again. Now, due to the number of people going to the city to use the thermal springs, Samuel Fordyce, who the city of Fordyce in Dallas County is named after, offered to help pay for the construction of a luxury hotel with Samuel Sitt and William Gaines. So the Arlington Hotel was built in 1875 and was the largest hotel at the time. The original building used to sit on the original Hot Springs National Reservation land that is across from where the hotel sits today. Now, they rebuilt the hotel in 1893 with a larger capacity to hold more guests. They updated a lot of the amenities and gave it a more beautiful design on the same reservation of land. Now, on April 5th, 1923, someone who worked at the hotel noticed smoke coming out of the electrical panel. As the fire started to slowly spread, the police were called to the scene. Now, William Pinkerton, who had started the security service, and another guest were so convinced that the fire was small enough to contain that he just sat there and smoked a cigar rather than go up to his room, get his stuff, which was recommended, to do that and to exit the building. Fortunately, he was mistaken, and all of his things were lost in the fire when the hotel had burned to the ground. Now, on October 25th, 1923, the construction of the third Arlington Hotel was started, and on November 28th, 1924, it was completed on a different plot of land from the reservation property. The Arlington has welcomed important people throughout history, one being Joe T. Robinson, who declared that he would accept the Democratic nomination for vice president on the front steps of the hotel in 1929, and he continued to use the hotel for his campaign. Now, the first radio station in Hot Spring was KTHS, and was broadcast from the tower that was installed on the roof of the hotel between the two towers. The two towers. And the Miss Arkansas pageant was held there a lot. Now, Al Capone would often go to the hotel and book the whole 4th floor for himself.
Copycat.
And his companions, and he would personally stay in room 443, which was said to have been his favorite room. Now, some other famous people stayed at the hotel as well. Will Rogers, an actor, Kate Smith, who was considered the first lady of radio, George Raft, an actor and a dancer, and Babe Ruth, the legendary baseball player. Now, for years there have been speculation that the hotel is haunted, and up till about 9 years or so ago, the employees weren't supposed to say anything about any of the strange happenings whatsoever. because the director of operations was afraid that it would keep people from actually coming to the hotel. However, people now come to the hotel to ask for the specific rooms that have been reported as haunted.
Okay.
Now, one source, a woman named Cameron Jones, that started working at the hotel in 1997, says that she has experienced strange things throughout the building and has heard many stories from the guests. She said that she has seen lights going on and off in 2 different guest rooms. There's a chandelier in the
Venetian.
I don't know, I was wanting to say Vietnamese. Venetian dining room that will get really bright one minute and go out the next. Now, 2 rooms seem to have the most activity, 824 and 443. There have been reports that in room 842, lights will turn off and on, the bathroom sink will turn on by itself, and the shower will be turned on and get so hot that the room will get steamy. And sometimes items will just fall off the shelves. And all these things happen during the 3 to 4 a.m. hours.
The witching hour.
Yeah. Now in room 443, which is the Capone suite, people have said that they have heard the connecting doorknob being turned, but there isn't an actual doorknob to be turned.
Oh.
But guests will actually still see their doorknob moving.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's a little strange. So I don't know if somebody's back there trying to, like, with a pair of pliers.
Maybe.
I don't know. But it is strange. There are also stories that involve a woman in a white gown walking around the 7th floor. There's also a photo of 2 footprints on the carpet that was taken by 2 guests that are in front of room 723. And there are also reports of people seeing the figure of a man that is dressed like a soldier, and he has actually been seen taking a bath in the hotel's bathhouse.
Oh, wow. So I know the focus on this specific episode is the ghosts of Arkansas or whatever, but I just want to say that also a fun fact about that hotel, a lot of mobsters went there and gangsters went there, and there was a whole lot of gambling and whatnot. Anyway, it's believed or said that there were actually tunnels built throughout Hot Springs where if they needed to flee quickly, they could use those underground tunnels to move to different parts of the town.
Oh, cool.
To kind of make an escape. So it's said that hotel also hosted the ability to get in and out of those tunnels.
Oh, that's cool. So
I don't know if that's
right
true or
on top
not.
of it, where there's like a go downstairs.
Yeah.
And oh, cool. I have to go check that out and see if we can go look in the basement.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that, when we were at the hotel and we were going to the museums and all that stuff, we did read on some of the placards where it was talking about the tunnels that went throughout the city.
Okay, cool.
During that time. I don't know if they're still open or not, but anyway. Interesting fact.
Interesting little tidbit to that. Alright, so the second one we are going to talk about is the Basin Park Hotel.
You'll be relieved to know I've never been there and I know nothing about it.
I have.
You have?
I have, yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
My honeymoon was in Eureka Springs, and we stayed at the Basin Hotel.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's in Eureka Springs?
Yep. It's like Eureka right down the road from the Crescent Hotel.
Love Eureka Springs. That's a great place to honeymoon. I never had a honeymoon.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You should do a belated honeymoon and go to the Springs of Eureka.
Let me spin that one to my husband. Can we go to a haunted hotel as our belated honeymoon?
Okay, so this hotel is located, like we said, in Eureka Springs, just 5 minutes down from the Crescent Hotel. It sits on the property where a pretty famous fire happened. The original building that was on the property was the Perry House that was built in 1881 by Captain Joseph Perry, who was disabled. Now, he was able to get healing at the Basin Park Spring, so he thought he should build a hotel next to it, because people from all over would visit the spring. Fortunately, he built the hotel out of wood, and it ended up burning to the ground a few years later.
That's sad.
Yeah. Now, the Basin Hotel was built in 1905 and was just as beautiful and luxurious as the Perry House. It was said to be fireproof because it was built from limestone and all the floors had an iron walkway. If there was a fire, guests could leave through the different exits and get to the mountain behind the hotel for safety. Now, the hotel had running hot water, electricity, and even private bathrooms in a lot of the guest rooms. In 1944, the hotel changed hands and was purchased by a pretty important family, Roy Parkhill, an oilman from Tulsa and a cousin of Claude Fuller, who was a legislator, among many other things, bought the hotel for his nephew, Joe Parkhill. Now, Joe had a very big plan for the hotel as well as for the city of Eureka Springs. He wanted to be able to turn the whole area into a place for entertainment. He wanted to create a place for wealthy people to be able to drink, gamble, and avoid the law without any suspicion because he thought that would increase money intake and increase the hotel status. Now, his lasting legacy ended up being the Barefoot Ball, which was originally held in the Grand Ballroom and Roof Garden of the hotel in 1948 and became an annual event for Eureka Springs. This is pretty neat how it came about. Now, the idea of the ball actually came from Ralph Edwards' radio show called Truth or Consequences.
I've heard of that.
Really? I've never heard of that.
I've heard of that.
Now, on the show, newlyweds Mr. and Mrs. Howard Forehands of St. Anna, I can't talk, California, were given a 2-week stay at the hotel. But they had to stay barefoot the entire time. That means from the time they left California and they came back, they had to do it barefoot. No shoes
How
whatsoever.
would anybody know if they were barefoot from California to there?
Well, I mean, they were given the stay, so I'm guessing people were probably following with cameras.
From their house to the place?
Probably. Now, I don't know how they'd be able to do that in their room.
Not only that, but how creepy is that? Like, now I just imagine a camera guy in their car on their feet. Like, don't you slip that toe in that sandal. I'm watching.
Now, Joe and his wife picked the couple up and walked them to the second floor of the hotel. Now, because they had such a great attitude during the whole thing, Joe threw the first of the barefoot balls on June 26, 1948, and it continued to be an annual event for 30 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is really cool. That's probably a much more comfortable way to dance.
Yes. Barefoot. Bunch of camera and just looking shit. Okay. Now, some people say that the hotel was built where the Perry House used to... Oh my gosh, I just completely screwed that up. No, I said that right. Excuse me. Now, some people say that because the hotel was built where the Perry House used to be, there are a lot of paranormal occurrences, and some say that it could be because of the quality of the spring that was originally found by the Native Americans. Now, people have reported seeing orbs, human shadows in the ballroom, faces that appear in stained glass windows, and a tour guide actually had marks appear on their neck. Now, the paranormal tour manager for the Basin Hotel and the Crescent Hotel said that a paranormal expert and his wife were able to investigate the ballroom. The group was able to see many shadows and experience a lot of temperature changes. They were even able to capture an EVP, and during that EVP...
Hey,
Yeah, I just went...
I like biscuits. Cornbread.
Oh, well.
Taters.
Oh, gosh. Now, during that EVP, a tour guide started to feel like he was being choked, and he felt like he couldn't breathe, so he had to run from the room to get some air. When he went back, he pulled down his turtleneck, and the others were able to see red marks encircling a white area on his throat, and it looked like someone had actually put their hands around his neck.
Oh, wow.
Alright, so the next one is Ghost Mountain.
So on that one, real quick before we move on, so when you were there, did you go there because you knew it was haunted? Or is that why y'all picked that for your honeymoon destination?
Yeah, I mean, we heard stories and stuff about it. I mean, I guess I should have said something before. I just was like, oh yeah, I was there. Next. We didn't really see or hear anything, but to be fair, we weren't really in the hotel a lot. You know, it was our honeymoon, so we were out doing a bunch of other stuff, and whenever we did come back, we weren't really in the best state of mind to be seeing or hearing things.
Them ghosts could have took my shoes out for me and I wouldn't have known it.
Right, yeah. I would have known, so...
Well, I was more curious, like, did you take the tour? No?
No.
Did you stay in any of the known haunted rooms?
Probably not.
Okay.
Next time.
All right.
Next
Hey,
time,
adventure though.
yeah.
We're gonna go. Okay, so we are, for those of you who stick with us, or those of you who come join us before this can take place, we are planning on this summer. We're gonna go stay the night at the Crescent Hotel, and do some recordings there, and we may just go ahead and make that 2 nights and bebop on over to the Basin Hotel.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool.
Back-to-back paranormal vidges.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Maybe we can even do a live.
I'm 100% on board to do a live.
If we can do it right this time. Ooh.
Well, see, when we were doing it the first time, we were like, don't let them see our faces. But now we're kind of out there, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you meant the video. Oh, the live. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I was thinking about when we did the live, the TikTok, the graveyard.
Oh, well, yeah, that wasn't live. That was just a video.
Oh, you're talking about when we did the Cabin of 360.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry for the quality of that, how that video
Yeah.
came out.
That was... Sorry, y'all. But it was still fun to do.
It was a complete blast, and the interview was fantastic. And
Yeah.
again, I encourage you to definitely go watch that. If for nothing else, the historical information and the paranormal information, and just Dennis Eslock and Ryan Jones. Again, I'll mention just how informative and educated they were.
Yeah, they were pretty awesome. Go book a room. Go see if he can get you any ghosties or some paranormal activity.
But yeah, sorry about the way the live played out. We didn't realize that it was only showing whoever was talking from frame to frame. We thought it was going to be a full frame where you could see everybody in the video. We realized that was a setting issue, and we will correct that when we get an opportunity to do our next live.
Yes. Back on to the show. Okay, so Ghost Mountain.
Sounds like a really awesome ride.
It does. Okay, so the mountain is located in Fayetteville, and there are actually a few tragic events that have happened around the area. In 1862, it was where the Prairie Grove battlefield was located. During the battle, 2,500 soldiers lost their lives, and they say that the ground was stained red.
Oh.
Now, there's a family that died in a car crash on Tilly Willie Bridge near Drake Field Airport in Ghost Mountain. Excuse me. Now, because of the tragic events that took place in the 1930s, the mountain became known as Ghost Mountain. There was a family that lived on top of the mountain in a log cabin. The father really liked to drink a lot, and most of the time he would drink until he was pretty drunk. And one night, after the father had a long night of drinking, he wanted to go home and sleep it off. What he didn't know was that his child was sick and was crying nonstop. No matter what the mother tried to do, she could not get him to stop. So the father was tossing and turning, trying to go to sleep, but was just getting madder and madder by the second, mainly because of all the alcohol that he consumed that night. They say that he got out of bed, ran to his wife, and grabbed the baby. He ran outside and threw the child into their well. The mother frantically grabbed the rope that she could have used to get the baby, but her husband cut the rope with an axe, leaving both of them down at the bottom of the well. That said, after the man realized what he had done, he fled town, never to be seen again. People have reported that the well is still there and is still where the mother and her child dwell. They say that when you walk past the well during a full moon, you can hear the screams of the mother and her baby.
Oh,
Yes,
it's terrible.
Now, another story is that after the war ended in 1865, an engaged couple moved to Fayetteville from Fort Smith to start their new lives together. They built their home and got married in the house not too long after. Now, on the night, it was cold, and the new bride, who was still in her wedding dress, decided to stoke the fire. But when she did, a small ember landed on her dress, and it set on fire. She ran screaming from the house and ran down the ridge and through the grounds that later became the Walker and Confederate Cemetery. She fell on the ground and died from her injuries. Since that day, people have claimed to see a woman running through the cemetery screaming over and over as she relives the tragic events of her wedding night.
That's terrible.
That is super sad. Alright, so the next one is Cotter Bridge. Now, the RM, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Reuben Bridge?
That's how I would say it.
Is located in Cotter, and the bridge was built in 1930, but it is still called Cotter Bridge by many of the locals. The bridge was actually designed by the Marsh Engineering Company in Des Moines, Iowa, and it has the iconic rainbow arch. Some people have said that they have heard sounds of children playing on the bridge. Another story is that a woman can be seen running down the bridge with ghostly hounds chasing after her. Hellhounds.
That's what I was going to say.
Hellhounds. On the website ArkansasHauntedHouses.com, there are some accounts of some strange things happening. Now, on the website, these are like comments from people that,
have had first-hand experiences.
So they've actually left these comments themselves. Now, one commenter said that they heard the cry of a woman and the sound of dogs barking. Another commenter said that they seen a white figure jump from the bridge and it looked as though they just floated down before vanishing. Now, someone else said they heard a woman scream at the bridge. Now, there are also people on the site that said they've lived there for a really long time and they haven't had any experiences whatsoever.
Okay.
Alright, so the next one is the Powhatan Historical Courthouse. Now, the courthouse is located in the Powhatan Historic State Park in northeastern Arkansas. It sits on a hill that overlooks the Black River and isn't far from the other historic buildings like the jail, the Male and Female Academy. In 1869, the people voted to move the county seat from the plantation community of Clover Bend to Powhatan, which the town had been established to use the Black River steamboat traffic. Now, with a budget of $16,000, which today would be a mere $385,543.82 today. Now, Thornton and Jones of Little Rock designed the first two-story courthouse made of native stone. The courthouse was finished on June 16, 1873, but unfortunately burned down after over 12 years of service. Now, the county commissioner, James P. Coffin, began plans to have another courthouse built on the same site. This time the budget was $12,000 or $326,173.45 in today's currency.
Okay.
Now, architect D.A. McKinnon, who came from Kentucky, had plans to have an Italianate-style building. He wanted red bricks, arched windows, and a single bell tower. The courtroom is located on the second floor and has a crimson ceiling with wainscoting, which is a decorative paneling that matches the furniture. They also used some of the bricks from the last building that survived the fire. The courthouse was opened in 1888, and there were a lot of notable cases throughout the years. Now, there are rumors of people seeing apparitions of the old townspeople, and some that have committed crimes seem to still be there as well. One spirit in particular that is believed to still haunt the property is Andrew Springer. Now, I found one newspaper why can I not talk today? I found one newspaper article on newspapers.com that talked about Andrew and what he had done. Another article talks about what happened to him afterwards. So the first article on May 19th, 1887 says that Andrew went to a woman with the last name Montgomery and asked her for a drink of water. She had given it to him and he left, but he came back and told her to put her baby down. And when she refused to do so, he grabbed the baby and threw the child to the floor, which was only 6 weeks old at the time.
Oh.
Now, she told her husband what happened when he got back home and he went to look for him. And with other people that joined him, they eventually captured him and took him to the police, who took him to jail. And Andrew did admit to doing what they said that he did. Now, there is a content warning here. There's a brief mention of sexual violence. So the second article on May 29th, 1887 said that he had actually raped Miss Montgomery. The Arkansas Democrat wrote an article and published it on May 30th, 1887, saying that some men went to the jailer and said that they had a man who had killed someone and he needed to be kept safe until his court date. Now, the jailer went out and seen that they had a man in chains, so he took the prisoner to jail. The man then started to resist and refused to go into the cell, and the jailer grabbed the man and tried to force him into the cell. Now, when he did this, he noticed the man had a gun, and he realized that this was all a ruse. Next thing he knows, all of the men have guns pointed at him, and they tell him to open Andrew's cell, tie his hands and feet together, and bring him out. I know I said feet. Feet. I'm just coming to the conclusion that I just can't talk at all. So, yeah, we're just going to go with that. Okay, so now I've been lost where I was at. Okay, so to tie his hands and feet together and bring him out. Now, the mob of people then took Andrew to a tree that stood in front of Cole Barber's house, put a noose around his neck, hung him from the tree, and shot him multiple times. The article also said, quote, "The walks that once knew Andrew will know him no more forever, for he looked up a rope last Saturday at 2 o'clock at Powhatan," end quote.
Did the baby die?
I didn't find anything else out about the baby. I don't think the baby died.
Oh, good. I mean, it's terrible what he did, but thank
Yeah.
God if the baby lived. Thank God.
You know, like I said, I didn't see anything about it, so I'm going to assume that the baby grew up and lived a long, happy, healthy life.
Yeah, let's go that way.
Yeah.
I like it. It sounds good.
All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is the Allen house. Now, the house... oh, my goodness. Having so many issues. Okay, now the home is located in Monticello, and a lot of the locals believe that it is one of the most haunted houses in America. The house was built in 1906 for Joe Allen and his wife Katie and their 4 children. And unfortunately, their son died when he was 9 months old, but their daughters Lonnie, born in 1891, Liddell, born in 1894, and Louie, born in 1897, grew up in luxury. Now, it said that Joe suffered from hereditary heart issues, and some think that his son may have had the same problem, as well as his daughter Louie, who actually passed away in 1940. And Joe passed away at 54 due to a heart attack, and Liddell was said to never have actually fully recovered. Now, Liddell married a man named Boyd Bonner in 1914. Her parents didn't really approve of the marriage, but they ended up having a son close to a year later named Alan. They moved to Texas, where her husband worked on an oil rig, and while he was a hardworking man, he did have a slight drinking problem, and they ended up getting a divorce after 13 years of marriage. Now, Alan moved back to Monticello when he was a teenager to be closer to his grandmother, cousin, aunts, and uncles. He started spending a lot of time in the attic and soon discovered his love for writing. He went to college and majored in journalism. Now, Liddell moved back to Memphis for a little while before moving back to her family home. The last relationship she had was with a man named Prentice, and was her first actual love, but the relationship had ended in Memphis. Now, Prentice was married to a woman named Helen, and he was making really good money and had a lot of free time, so unfortunately, he liked to mess around a lot with other women. Now, he soon decided that he wanted to restart his relationship with Liddell. He had said that he loved her, but his wife, whenever they were going through a divorce, kind of made the divorce difficult because she was trying to take pretty much all of his stuff.
Well, if he's cheating on her, I don't blame her for wanting to take all of this stuff.
Right.
She kind of deserves it.
Yeah, he
in
does.
my female opinion.
I agree very much. So, since he was dealing with all that, he was really worried about that, so he ended up leaving Liddell, trying to figure out a way to keep his possessions. So it would seem that he valued his money and possessions way more than her.
Also, double shady.
Yeah.
So you just you blew up your marriage to date this one chick, and then when your wife is like, hey, because you blew up our marriage, I'm going to take all your stuff, he's like, hey, let me crush this other lady's heart real quick so I can go back and get my shit.
Yep.
Well, that is not very nice, Prentice. I don't care how cool your name is. You suck.
Bad Prentice, bad. Alright, so in 1949, Liddell was so grief-stricken by the loss of her sister, her brother, father, and now her relationship that she had actually put so much heart into, she decided to drink a bottle of cyanide on Christmas Eve.
Oh.
Dying the next day at 54 years old.
Oh.
No, some sources say it was a few days later.
Liddell.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be a terrible way to go.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh. Now, after her death, her mother locked her room and never opened it again. When she passed away in 1954, the building was made into apartments and was managed by some of the Allen family. They did end up eventually selling the house in the 1960s, and it was used as a housing for college students that were going to the University of Arkansas up until the mid 1980s. Trying to go back in time, and was put up for sale again. Now, a couple purchased the home and made it into a private residence again, and they even opened a gift shop in one of the back rooms on the first floor. And one of the owners did end up opening the locked room and found a bottle of cyanide on the closet shelf.
Oh.
And the current owners found a lot of letters that talked about a secret relationship that Liddell had.
Little Prentice coming back?
Maybe. Now, there was an author that lived in one of the apartments in 1959 that wrote a book called Scent of Lilac that told of her experiences she had with Liddell. There was also a doctor that lived in the apartments, and he captured a picture of a ghostly woman when the husband was taking a picture of his wife while she was in the dining room, and a woman appeared beside her.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah. Now, another couple said that they actually had captured her spirit in a closet. Yeah. But had a really difficult time doing it, and Liddell could just be heard laughing about it. I don't know how you can actually capture a spirit in a closet. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it's a little fishy. A little fishy. There have been a lot of people that lived in the apartment that would hear footsteps, noises, and even moaning coming from the upstairs apartment. Now, one couple actually called the police thinking someone broke in, but when the police went up there, they didn't find anything. Now, there's also talk about a spirit that people think may be Liddell's son, Alan. He had been said to say names in people's ears. He has appeared walking on the first floor wearing a cowboy hat, and he really likes to move things around and call out the names of females that are in the house.
Okay.
Now, Liddell's father is also known to visit her at the house and will talk to the investigators, telling them that his name is Alan. They also say that when he leaves, he will be in his car floating by, trying to get his daughter to leave with him. Ghost car.
Okay. Ghost car. Okay.
Another spirit there is one that they believe is Liddell's mother, Katie. Now, she has been heard through EVPs talking about her feelings toward her daughter and her daughter's husband, Boyd. One time an EVP was caught of her saying Boyd was always drunk on Christmas. There have also been 3 little girls seen and heard by people, and they said that they like to play in the foyer at the bottom of the stairs. People have also seen the ghost of a little boy, but not too much is really known about him.
So did Liddell's son Alan, did he die in the house?
I don't know. I didn't really say that he died in the house or not.
Okay.
I gotta be asking these questions. I didn't see where he died in the house, though. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is the Crosset Railroad Tracks. Now, located in Crosset, these tracks have some tales that surround them, drawing people from all over to see if they could have their own experiences. Now, the tracks were built in 1905 and were 10 miles long. That was mainly used for transporting logs and lumber for the Crosset Lumber Company. Now, in 1912, the railway was purchased by Monticello and Northern Railroad because they wanted to create a line from Crosset to Monticello. Now, on August 8th, 1912, Ashley, Drew, and Northern, or AD&N, was added so that they could build a railroad from Creamer to Monticello as well. AD&N also bought the Crosset Monticello in July of 1913. Now, there's a local legend that says in 1940, a train derailed and killed multiple people.
Ooh.
Now, one was a man who was said to have been decapitated and still roams the tracks looking for his head.
Oh.
Yeah. People will hear train whistles when there's no train scheduled, and some people will also see strange lights that are there one minute and gone the next. Some think this actually could be the headless man carrying his lantern looking for his head. Now, there are also accounts of people seeing an actual ghost train that comes from out of nowhere, speeding down tracks, and only to just poof, disappear. Poof, poof, disappear.
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
No one knows.
Okay, so the next what we're going to talk about is a blowing cave. I have never heard of this.
I also have never heard of this.
This is really interesting.
Okay.
Now, the caves are located in Cushman and are surrounded in mystery. One of the main stories about this cave is that it's said to be an entrance to a secret underworld where human-like beings are said to live.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have my attention.
Now, there's a gravel road that you drive down for a little while before you actually have to stop, and you can only hike the rest of the way to the cave.
Okay.
Now, it said that the cave may have been used during the Depression, and people that had ventured too far into the cave were lost and were never seen again. Now, Richard Shaver, who is a science fiction writer, told stories of people that lived underground that had blue tint to their skin. There was a man named George D. Wright who supposedly found a bunch of tunnels that connected and went to the underworld that Richard actually wrote about. Now, one source said that there's a rumor that the actual entrance to the underworld is through a hidden crevice between the entrance and the lake, and then you would have to go through another crevice, and that would lead to a staircase. Now, there are reports as far back from the 1940s and the 50s about people having experiences with the underground people. There was an author that explored the cave and wrote a book called Underground Empire, and his name was Branton. Now, here's a quote from that book that I found on the website arkansasonline.com. It says that the most shocking surprise of all, however, occurred on the third day after exploration of this tunnel began, a considerable distance from the crevice from which they entered the tunnel. They were walking along when all of a sudden they turned around and found themselves face to face with a group of human-like beings who stood around 7 to 8 feet tall. Their skin had a faint, pale, bluish, almost clay bluish tint to it, and their eyes were relatively large and owl-like. But they were definitely human, according to David L., who was on this particular expedition. The people took out some type of electronic device, apparently some kind of parabolic?
Parabolic.
I don't know why I just said that for. Parabolic communicator. And after a few attempts, they succeeded in establishing a communication link using the electronic translator. So what do you think? Could there be another civilization living under these caves with some kind of technology that we're unaware of at the moment?
1,000,000%. I believe that that's possible. I believe there are aliens walking among us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So if I believe that, I definitely believe that there might be a place on Earth where they're hiding out.
Yep.
Living their own little lives.
I completely agree.
Maybe they're research aliens.
Maybe it's kind of like, see that the newest Godzilla movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like where they go in and they just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was really awesome.
That was really cool. Not sponsored.
No, but that was a really good movie.
It was a really good movie. I liked it. Graphics were incredible.
Yes. Alright, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Shady Grove Cemetery.
I've heard of that one.
Have you had? Oh. See, I haven't heard of a lot of these. I live here. Alright, so the Shady Grove Cemetery is located on Bald Knob Lake Road in White County and has 3,000 graves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there wasn't a lot that I found in the cemetery, but what I did find was pretty interesting. People said there are absolutely no grasshoppers or crickets inside this graveyard. Mm-hmm. Another story is that if you drive your car up to the cemetery and flash your headlights 3 times, small handprints will appear on your car. People have also heard voices and strange noises coming from inside the graveyard, and that there is an eerie feeling of heaviness that comes with it. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a story that a young guy had told, saying that him and some of his friends went to the cemetery late one night. When they had walked deeper into the graveyard, the guy heard the voice of a young girl saying, "You need to get out before he knows you're here." Mm-hmm. When they went back to the truck to leave, the truck wouldn't start, and the windows started to fog up, and words could be seen being written that said, "Please get out." And they tried to start the truck again, but still nothing happened. So one of the guys got out to check under the hood and seen that someone or something had disconnected the cables. And after they reattached the cables, they backed the truck up to leave, and there in the middle of the road was the ghost of a little girl slowly fading away. Mm-hmm. So you've heard that one?
I absolutely heard that one, and supposedly, and again, I don't know if it's true, but supposedly there is a hidden part of that graveyard, like its own little smaller graveyard hidden behind the actual graveyard that is nothing but children.
Oh, that's creepy. I don't
It's
like
very
that.
creepy.
I don't like that.
But it might, explain
Yeah, the
the little handprints and stuff.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Alright, so we're going to talk about next the King Opera House.
Never heard of it.
I haven't either. Surprise, surprise. Alright, now the King Opera House is located in Van Buren in the Historic District. The building was built in 1891 and was first on the Sanford Paris fire map in 1892. There is a billiard room on one side of the building and the restaurant and saloon on the other side, located on the first floor. Now, there was a newspaper company on the second floor that was the Van Buren Press. Now, the property was purchased by Henry P. King in 1898. And the city of Van Buren gave the day-to-day operations to Arts on Main, or AOM, in 2022. Again, I didn't find a whole lot about this, but there is said to be a spirit that roams the building still performing beyond the grave. Now, like I said, I didn't find a whole lot, but I did find an interesting story.
Okay. I like interesting stories.
Yeah. Now, there is a story that goes around that an actor by the name of Charles Tolson was leaving with the daughter of a doctor that he had fallen in love with. And supposedly the doctor ran to the train depot in a horse and buggy and got to them before they were able to get on the train, and the doctor beat him to death with a horsewhip.
Oh.
Now, however, according to Meryl Purvis, the director of the A&P Commission, she says that is definitely not what happened.
Okay.
So this version of the story goes like this. Charles Tolson owned the Tolson Stock Company, which was a traveling acting group. He was married to a woman named Lorena and had a son named France. Charles's company was working at the King Opera House, and on September 3rd, 1903, they had just finished the week-long schedule. And the next day, he was leaving to go to Fort Smith on a train, and him and the other 11 actors got to the depot at about 7 a.m. And Charles went to go get the tickets, and Dr. Parchman, who was waiting at the depot's waiting room, walked outside the room and yelled Charles's name. Now, when Charles turned around to see who was hollering at him, Dr. Parchman pulled out a .44 caliber revolver and shot him. Now, that shot actually missed him, so Dr. Parchman shot him again. This time, he struck Charles in the back as he was running away. Now, the shot hit with so much force it actually caused him to spin around, and he was shot again. But that bullet hit his watch. Now, after Dr. Parchman finished shooting, he calmly walked away. Unfortunately, Charles passed away the next day to his injuries, but was said that on his deathbed, he said that he had only ever given Allie advice, and he had considered the doctor a good friend. Now, Dr. Parchman shot Charles that day because he thought he was taking his 17-year-old daughter with him on the train, because he was given a tip from a vinegar salesman named C.G. Murray. And there's no actual proof of that, but the two did know each other, but again, there was no evidence that anything inappropriate was going on between the two. They did find notes in her purse that said something about leaving with the group, but nothing ever happened. The lead actor of the group, named J.C. Godley, said that Allie was starstruck with Charles, but Charles had actually told her that she needed to go back home where she belonged and to stop hanging around so much. Now, when Meryl was doing research, she found that Murray was the one who actually had an interest in Allie, and he became jealous when she started to give Charles attention. Murray supposedly told Allie that his wife was in a nursing home in Louisiana and wasn't doing good, and when she passed away, he wanted to marry her. Now, once Mary seen that Allie was for sure attracted to Charles and his group, he hatched a plan that would keep her from leaving. This is when he decided to give the doctor the fictitious tip. Now, when Dr. Parchman went home, he called the sheriff, Jim Pickock, and let him know what he had done. And a warrant was made out for his arrest. His trial began on June 24th, 1904, and with what they call his dream team of lawyers, they started the defense with it being justifiable murder because Charles would have destroyed his daughter's purity. Yeah. Now, Miles' closing argument was published by the Fort Smith News Record and said this. In the event of an assault, he had no right to expect to get off with his life, said Miles in his argument. Numbers were against him, and criminal experience was his adversary. He hesitated not, placing upon the sacrificial altar the accumulation of a lifetime, his home association, his liberty, his very life. He went forward to the discharge of his duty calmly, coolly, without wavering or hesitation. Not as a murderer sulking in the nighttime to consummate an assassination, but rather as a good citizen, feeling and knowing and supporting and protecting care of the law.
Questionable.
Yeah.
At the very least. Anyway, go ahead.
Just questionable.
Questionable at the very least. That is a really weak point of defense for murder.
Now, coming down to the decision, the first was a 10 for acquittal and 2 for guilty. Now, the second was not guilty all the way around. So, essentially, people say that he got away with murder.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
He absolutely did. Even if you take away any kind of defense to it or whatever the case may be, he murdered someone.
Yes, he straight up
and he
took
got
somebody's
away with it.
life.
Yep. Murder is murder.
Now, Charles's wife continued the acting group and remarried about a year later. Now, there's not a lot known about Allie's life, but she did marry in 1907 and was buried in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh, Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I love that place.
Beautiful.
Dr. Parchman really tried to live a normal life, but a lot of the community didn't feel sorry for him at all, and a lot of people actually condemned him.
Good. Yeah. He should have been condemned. He should have been condemned to prison.
I agree.
Or jail.
Yeah.
Something.
Something definitely should have happened on that. So that is part 2 of The Ghost of Arkansas. Now, I do know I didn't talk about one of the most famously haunted places in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
But I plan on doing that later because there's so much information about it that I'm going to do an actual whole episode on, and that is going to be the Crescent Hotel.
Whoa. As I mentioned earlier, we're also going to go stay there. I kind of spoiler alerted that without realizing that I was spoiler alerting that. But we are going to go stay there this summer. So
yeah, see, that's what happens whenever we don't let each other know what we're doing.
Sometimes we end up doing cases that are very similar, or cases that one of us says something because we don't know that it's in the case already, or we ask questions we didn't research the information for, but the other person doesn't know that because we don't know what the other person is doing. So it's kind of like a podcast roulette.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get.
That's right.
Hey, Dr. Seuss, welcome back. Anyway,
so yeah.
but yeah, that was very interesting and very
Thank
cool.
You, thank you. I feel like I kind of ran through it for some reason.
No, I feel like you did.
Okay, good.
I feel like you did really good.
Yeah.
You broke it down really well, and we were able to banter a little bit about experiences and more add a little more information where we knew more information.
Right,
and,
right.
But
Ghosts of Arkansas.
just a little too excited about paranormal.
I love the paranormal.
To all you ghosts out there, we hope you find peace and love and you're able to move on.
Hi, ghosties.
But for those who are still here, family really appreciates you.
Hi.
Anyway, thank you so much for spending time with us today on our part 2 of the Ghosts of Arkansas.
Yes, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated, each and every one of you.
And as we said in the last episode, if you have your own story to tell, or somebody else's story to tell, or you don't feel like comfortable telling it yourself, you want to write it in, whatever the case may be, if you would like a platform to be able to discuss or share, we are more than happy to be that platform for you. So just reach out in all the ways we've mentioned several times now how you can. And yeah, other than that,
Yep.
Thanks for spending time with us again, and we are
Render the darkness.
Sorry about my face being so close.